Yeah, I mean, yet again, it's not the most countered Bane game. You know, he did have to play versus, I guess, because I had Tiny in the previous game, but really, there's not the best tool to cancel grip. And seeing this Weaver is also a comforting sight, just because, again, it's felt it's probably going to be their offlaner. If it's not their offlaner, it's going to be Pingu's hero. Now, what is a Weaver going to be able to do versus Viper Tusk? He's going to be able to put a lot of anti armor if it does fall into Pingu's hands. But again, what hero can capitalize off of that that's going to be kind of the answer that Solji ends up being. I think that's what we're going to see them really spend a lot of their reserve time. The second phase is going to be all important for Felt. This is where they basically say, are we going to decide to try and win this early mid game, or are we going to completely forfeit it? And I think that's where they're really weighing their options right now.
Yeah, part of the reason why they are dipping into that reserve time a little bit, because this is kind of the potential pivot point of your draft as we see the Treant Protector coming out for them. So, well, not a hero that we had seen to this point in the event, but I don't know. I think we're maybe a little bit spoiled seeing some of these South American teams play this hero so well, but I just honestly seeing a Treant just kind of makes me happy at this point.
Yeah, Hero's great. It's living armor gives you armor. I think was the big change at the beginning of the kind of patch. You know, as much as it didn't really change, but I also think a really nice niche answer to the Viper. Of course, once the Viper gets ag shard, your towers are gonna die regardless. But him actually walking up and getting those right clicks on Nature's Grasp is a really pesky spell. It lasts forever. It suddenly makes it so that the Treant Protector can just kind of take over that bottom lane whenever we do see them kind of rotate out. The Treant Protector just always takes the dead lane. He makes it so impossible to push those towers, and I think that's where 5RATFORCESTAFF, if they really want to, could see them go for a hyper tower pusher just to make sure these do actually fall. I mean, still have the Leshrac, still have the DK in the pool. We could definitely see them go for something like that. But Kunkka, okay,
Yeah,
I'm a little
it's
nervous.
is an interesting one because the Kunkka um had basically been forgotten, at least in the North American side. South American teams are still rocking the Kunkka pretty consistently, but back on the last Pro Circuit tour, the NA squads just really entirely ignored this hero. So felt maybe bringing it back a little bit here, and well, I don't know. It's always a hero that's kind of durable. You have that sort of lockdown team fight kind of combo, but Kunkka's not the most maybe mobile of heroes. And you look at the other side, Viper Tusk Bane, they would love to be able to jump on a hero that doesn't have a lot of movement, and with the lockdown that they have, they can eventually get through the durability.
I'm just terrified. If they pick Batrider right now, I'm super sad for Felt just because I think lanes up for well versus the Kunkka. It kind of shuts out both the Tiny and the Train Protector from just playing normally. That's your hero that would very easily kill the Viper's lane. At the same time, all the spirits are banned out, which is funny to see. Just seeing
Hmm.
how much respect on Nico's name here, but at the same time, they're probably weighing if we do pick up the Batrider, that's going to force the Tiny into a probably 4 position, which I'm assuming Felt is going to do regardless. But I think that's where 5 Force Staff might be deciding instead to try and get an advantage over picking their carry first, which is something they can surely do. You take the carry out of the pool, and then you get to ban the best two options otherwise. And I think that's where a lot of this reserve time is being spent. But no,
Hmm.
they just simply go for the DK. That is an interesting route. Could this be a Nico Viper, perhaps? I guess we'll have to see.
Yeah. Or maybe they're gonna finally give Lil Nick some sort of reprieve from just continuous DK play, and
I
I
mean,
don't
the
really
Viper
know.
Tusk lane is certainly better. That is
True.
the reason, the thing that has been kind of formulated around this draft. But I guess it's just strange when you talk about a player like Nico, especially. It just feels a little boring. You know, it doesn't feel like something that you would necessarily try to give to him. Not to mention, I also still think it's an incredible Batrider game. If they did want to like really hedge their bets here and I don't know, put DNM on an oddball hero, I think that'd be pretty cool. But at least they do pick up again a hero like the DK or the Leshrac. Their way onto these buildings is going to be a lot easier. It's why the DK is so popular. In addition to just Dragon Tail being broken, very nice spell, but at the same time, it's not the immediate solution. I think to this Kunkka Treant Protector that I thought it would be.
Yeah, I mean, it can certainly hold its own. It's going to be hard to kill, all the usual Dragon Knight things, but as you said, it's not exactly a gotcha moment to take this Dragon Knight. Although, I don't know. Maybe you just run it on Nico. Like you said, it's a kind of boring pick, but if you lane up against the Kunkka, you're going to be hard pressed to find a way to lose that matchup, right? So, I don't know. They'll draw it. Maybe Nico can get a Blink Dagger and be more of an initiator later on in the game. Or, as you alluded to, there's still room for something kind of funky here for DNM if they want to really shift things up. So, some options for them, but honestly, those options may be there, but it really does kind of feel like they should take the more tried, true, standard, maybe even boring route and just try and get something that's going to be hard for Felt to really fight back against.
Yeah, and really, I was gonna say if I had to put my money on any hero, I was gonna say the Terrorblade for 5RATFORCESTAFF looks great, but actually ban it out. They're afraid of Solji actually taking that pick, and it is very obvious, I think, that Felt are still looking for their safe laner here. Terrorblade would have been kind of a soft solution, I think, again to the Viper Tusk lane, and that's something that Felt didn't give us an answer to in that previous picking phase. We still need to see Solji on something that's going to be, a little bit more comfortable.
Okay.
Gary Kunkka, it looks like.
Hmm.
Or they mess everything up and they swap everything around. I mean, we could be seeing a carry Tiny, we could be seeing a carry Kunkka, we could be seeing a mid wind, we could be seeing. I'm not even going to run myself through it. We'll just see what they pick.
I don't know. I don't know. Maybe Tiny at the 1, Wind Ranger at the 4. See what they do with that. Meanwhile, 5
Mm,
Rat. Okay. Wraith King will be the call. That hero's been banned out 2 or 3 times already today, but slips through the cracks, and this is rough to break through. Wraith King, DK, and Viper are looking like your 3 cores on the 5 Rat side, and Belt. Let's see. Okay, maybe with the
it's a
Wind
carry
Ranger as a
wind.
carry, but looking at what they've got right now, I don't know if they have the damage to break through all 3 of those cores in the time frame they'll need to actually survive the damage 5RATFORCESTAFF will be throwing out in exchange.
In this wind hero, hey, he's not going to lose versus Viper Tusk, that's for sure. I mean, Wind is the answer. That's back when I want to say Liquid still had Weehaw. That was their solution to the Viper was you would just pick Weehaw Wind and they would lane versus each other and you'd feel great. You get to dodge the poison attacks with that Wind Run. You're constantly obnoxious. Shackle Shot is such a great spell versus Viper with how slow his turn speed is. It's very hard to dodge those kind of disables, but at the same time, you've got to carry Wind. You're playing versus a very robust lineup. If you start falling behind, things can get scary. But there have been murmurs, there have been whispers about this Windrunner in the 1 position. She hasn't really been popular anywhere else for a very long time, aside from maybe the 4. But I am all for it. I'm excited to see what Soldier's going to do. This is definitely, I want to say, out of left field compared to his Razor play. So I'm very excited. Another ranged hero, it's right up his alley.
Yeah, I mean, listen, at this point, you kind of gotta try something, right? And every strategy out there is untested until it ends up working, and then you look like a genius. So maybe this is the moment for Solji as the player and Pingu as the drafter to maybe just play that trump card that 5RAT weren't really ready for, because I don't really think they would have cared what this final pick was outside of the 2 heroes that they actually banned away, but you end up losing because you got 5th pick Wind Ranger. You're just going to be scratching your head a little bit, I think.
It's one of those things I think as well where if things aren't going swimmingly for Felt, easy GG out. It's an attempted experiment, but at the same time, it is going to provide exactly what they picked it for. It's going to give them someone who can lane versus that Viper Tusk lane, and I think that's where. We've been hyping it up the entire draft. 5RATFORCESTAFF, if they better make it look good. It's got to be effective. It's got to be at the very least a bully lane for Pingu, and Pingu is certainly going to be really pushed against the ropes here. He's going to need to be very careful. It's the type of lane where you give up a few too many of those early kills, and then suddenly the Viper level-wise is balling out of control, and despite how good the early levels are in this Wind versus Viper lane, once you get level 6 on Viper, you kind of just win the matchup outright. No matter how fast you attack, if you rush a Javelin with that focus fire, Viper Strike kind of just trumps all. It's where you really need to be careful. But Afromoosh, he is just dead.
Yeah, unfortunate. He actually dodged the initial push from this sort of quartet of heroes, but then the little Nick got the vision on him, so the Tiny starts sort of doubling back to get back to safety, and the other side of that ambush sort of collapses onto him. So it's just some bad luck. If you're after a Moush, it's a nice first blood play out there from 5RATFORCESTAFF, but well, if you're felt, honestly, giving up first blood is gonna suck no matter what. But of all the heroes you could have lost, the Tiny really isn't set back all that much, so I think they're gonna be okay with having to give that one up. But now, well, now I want to see exactly how this lane setup works. You were talking about the Wind Ranger. It is a hero that can dodge a lot of the threat from the opposing duo, but do they actually commit for this? You see the Tiny making his way over, so this may be more than just trying to dodge out a lot of the Viper setup, and they might actually look to get aggressive in this lane.
They have to be careful, and I mean, starting as a trial lane, AB1 certainly feels a little bit out of place here, but they've cut down all of these trees, and it's going to be a try-v-try setup, but Afromoosh, I don't know if he wants that with the tag team. He's going to take a lot of damage, but Giant's also getting right-click down, and this is where Viper, it's just brutal. The poison attacks are stacking up. Pingu is going to die. He's just going to get ticked out here. Doesn't have a stick, doesn't have any burst regen, no fairy fires, and this is a tri lane that they lose, and this is also a bottom lane where DNM hard wins. Zor, I don't think is going to really be able to put any pressure up on this Skeleton King, and at the same time, I really don't know what this is going to do for them. If DNM gets one of his big items super early, especially just probably the Armlet Rush, then suddenly he's just going to start out farming you, and it's not a game where you can afford to get behind on really any way for Felt side.
This is just such an awkward setup. I mean, they've got both the supports here, so okay, we start looking for fights. Afromoush can go for a tossback as you see him try again. Albino Zebra, he's got the stick charges though, so he's not going to be easy to take down, but to the point, I think they will find the pickup, but Solji, he put the point in the Wind Run so that he could avoid the poison attack, which means you don't have a whole lot of damage coming out of your Wind Ranger when you do find these initiation plays. It means that your Tiny and your Treant Protector kind of have to do it themselves, and that time at least they were able to do so, but I don't really know if they can do that consistently against heroes that don't start the fight at half HP like the Bane did.
Yeah, and at the very least, Pingu was able to reestablish small camp control, so he will be able to push the wave back, and that really is, I think, all they can do in this lane. It's the one weakness of Viper in a side lane. Viper is strongest when his creep waves are as far away from his opponent's towers as possible, and if you can keep that creep wave up, you get your opportunity onto the Viper. You get the mistake where suddenly he's a little bit too far up, but with all these trees cut, he's just going to poison attack you if you ever try to contest his large camp pool, and that's exactly what they've done here. Nick has just more or less kind of body blocked the Windrunner from making any attempt to try and slow things up, and at the same time, with Afromoosh rotating around, he could look for a tossback here, but during the daytime, there's absolutely no way for him to approach, which simply means more creeps into the Viper, which means an even easier level 3, and once he gets it, the trade cannot be made. You cannot fight versus this hero, and Pingu, well, he might get traded up a little bit here.
While mid, Afromoosh did rotate his way over. They get off... Oh, well, never mind. They got off the X into the Torrent, but the toss back doesn't actually come through. Meanwhile, top, as you said, Pingu, no way out. Really, the only reason he was able to take those fights earlier on against some of these heroes is because he had the Tiny there for backup. So, not only do you rotate out and leave your teammate vulnerable, you don't get the kill mid that they wanted to pick up.
Yeah, the lanes are just shifting, I think, way too heavily in their favor right now. He needs to be very careful. If they lose anybody top again, it can be really rough. But yeah.
The Tiny toss, it's only level 1, and he didn't hit 2. I kind of assumed that he had done so, but not the case. He is still sitting level 1. Now he's level 2, but...
Yeah.
I can't...
And then top, and then everybody cries,
Come on,
and then
man.
nobody's happy, and then Pingu, he's running.
That just... Zor, that can't happen, my guy. That's just not cool, but... Well, DNM gets a freebie. They find the pickoff onto Solji up top, and these lanes are starting to unravel already on the Felt side.
Yep, again, the only way they can win this lane is if they get the small camp pulls off, they take the wave under tower, they get that additional armor. but it's just constantly being pulled. This troll camp has been pulled, I want to say, 2 or 3 times here, and without a tossback, with the Tiny having to kind of fix everywhere else, and I don't even want to say fix because DNM's lane is fairly stable despite being on his lonesome in a 1v2 situation. It's where I think the draws are coming out way too well from 5RATFORCESTAFF. They're winning the one lane that they are set out to win, and they're also just not losing the lane that they could be punished in. It's kind of a sad state as is right now. Not to mention, they're just farming levels in these supports up here. They got Nick a very, very fast level 3, as you do on Viper, but they've also been splitting the XP 3 ways in doing so, just making sure Giant and AB1 kind of have the tools to rotate around now that we do see that breakaway in the lanes.
Right. They have not really had to sacrifice much themselves in order to put themselves in this advantageous situation top, so that means the aggression can just start rolling over towards the other lanes, and middle lane is a place where maybe Albino Zebra looks to sort of set himself up, because the Kunkka is already kind of getting a little bit more bullied now. I mean, don't really think that the Dragon Knight's going to be able to pick him off, and speaking of pickoffs, DNM does get taken out down bot, so well, Zor doesn't get sort of killed off before they get the chance to even initiate this time, and good things will happen, but now, with the Tiny in the bottom lane, Nick and Giant thought they had an opportunity onto Solji. The DOT is not quite enough, but they're actually really just pushing everywhere. They don't get the kill top, but over in the middle lane, Nico popped the Dragon form. Albino Zebra pushed in, and they can't find a kill there either, but they are really just trying to put Felt on the back foot right now.
Yeah, and it is the advantage of this DK versus Kunkka mid. Usually how it shapes up, though, is the DK gets to farm and get ahead, but the Kunkka usually makes up his net worth by farming everything else. Something has gone horribly wrong for Shinra, though. I don't know how he's 1,000 net worth behind the DK at this stage of the game, and he does need to be careful now that the boat is online. That's certainly a lot more magic damage to play around with, but I don't know how Nico does it. I just don't know why this has gone so poorly for the Kunkka. There really is no reason.
I mean, well, I don't know. I've been peeking sort of over at the middle lane every once in a while, and it felt like Nico was just playing very aggressively. I mean, the damage isn't going to stick massively, but yeah, your DK, what is the consequence? If I go in and pop this Kunkka in the mouth 2 or 3 times, he can't do enough damage as Afro. This is not where you want to be. Dropped low, buying some time though. Nice toss Ava combo, but it's not enough. He will still die now. They're in onto Pingu. They've got the snowball down onto him. He's going to try and slow them up as best as he can. Solji, well, trying to help out. Now Shinra's actually come in, so I think Albino Zebra's going to pay the price.
Of course not.
Oh my god. Well, he should still die, but not going to hit him with that combo. Shinra still gets the kill, but they still lose out on 1 or 2 heroes in sort of the initial fight, and that pulls your Kunkka out of mid, which means Nico onto the tower.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. A little bit too much onto the tower.
Always a treat to see.
It's tossed back, but his Tiny just doesn't have damage. There's nothing you can do. Position 4 Tiny can't really follow that up, and if nothing else, on the Felt side, you've got living armor, so the march onto those towers is not going to progress nearly as quickly as Nico would like. Maybe that'll be enough to buy them some extra time, but, you know, we've been talking about some of these other lanes as Nico tossed back again. Still not really able to lock him down, but here's Shinra going for the X. Nice snowball, though. Completely dodges it out, and, well, while all of this is going down, you still have a bottom lane where DNM is just hanging out, chilling, farming. Zor can't do anything to him.
We're seeing the same 5RATFORCESTAFF where everyone is kind of peeking into those top 3 net worths at this early stage of the game, and of course it can't last forever, right? But that's where I'm still looking at this win. I'm still wondering what the build-up's going to be. He's got a Diffusal Blade queued up right now, which is certainly an interesting build, but we haven't seen that easy punish. We haven't seen a Viper die early on, and again, those are the early levels. That's where the punish can come. It's where if you get Shinra involved at the right time, you catch the Viper just a little bit too far forward in the lane, suddenly you turn a lost lane into something that you can actually farm and exist in. I think, sadly, we're just going to see them kind of lose the gold lead more and more here. Try to do a toss back onto AB1, and there's a lot of damage.
But DNM, he's still in the area, throws out the stun, starts right-clicking down, and Yeah, Zor just has to use the ult to make sure he doesn't get caught out. So it was worth an attempt, but your Bane is able to walk away, and this still isn't a lot of significant pressure onto DNM. He just keeps on farming, and yeah, he's just holding on to that skill point. So if they ever do actually bring anyone over to try and deal with him, he's going to be able to pop that ult and maybe buy some time for support to TP in.
Yeah. Meanwhile, Nico's back mid, third Elder Dragon form of the game, just putting more pressure. It's certainly taking a lot longer with Pingu being here, but if you look at the state of the other lanes and you look at where every one, specifically these heroes are, there's just no gank potential. We're in gridlock. There's no rotations that this Kunkka can really make to kind of shatter. You see Aframush maybe going for a toss back here, but here's the level 6 versus 6. Oh, the Ava got dodged. Oh no.
And they're directly onto Solji. He's just not looking so hot here, and the DOT, yeah, it's just going to kill him. Nick gets the kill, looking for the double. Able to pick them both off. Solji and Aframush will both be taken down. Meanwhile, on the other side of the map, DNM, yeah, he threw a stun out onto Zor. They're not going to go for much more than that, but they don't need to. They can just continue to hold serve in this lane. Top lane is the one that can now sort of apply pressure, as little Nick can try and get onto that tower, and felt this is exactly the kind of start that you were sort of hoping to avoid at this point, because I'm not really sure that they can immediately address this shift in the power dynamic. Because Solji, I don't know, there's really nothing to be done here. Even if the defuse was picked up, I don't think that really turns you into the damage dealer they need at this point in the game.
It's going to take time, it's going to need to take patience, and I think specifically it's going to take Solji not getting gripped. I think that's a huge threat. Once AB1 actually hits his level 6, it's going to be terrifying to see what he's actually able to make play-wise, and well, the supports are coming up top. Pingu did get the tome, so he does have that overgrowth. That's a huge uptick in the control you have, but without the Kunkka getting involved, I don't think they have enough damage, and Aframush getting scouted out, they're going to know how many heroes are up here, and at the same time, they need to immediately get onto the Viper. If they don't kill him off incredibly quickly, it's just not going to matter. Meanwhile, Giant, he needs vision. He's going to snowball the creep, and okay, there you go.
It might still try, no, okay. Tiny was looking for the angle, not going to find it. Meanwhile,
But look,
here comes the counterplay. That's a blink on Nico and a smoke to get him into the fight. He's got the
they're
Elder
baiting
Dragon
Nick.
form. Oh wait, he just popped. Afro. He was in the tree line, but it's not going to matter. They go onto Solji anyway, and do they have the means to keep him safe? Not with the Fiend's Grip coming down there, but the Overgrowth is going to come out defensively. They still need to keep Solji safe. He is taking so much damage, but the toss will get him away to safety. They'll instead just turn their attention onto the Tiny, and almost had the deny, not going to get it, but Nico didn't give up on the play. He continues to chase after the Wind Ranger. Not going to get the kill. And now he's maybe gone a little bit too far. Can the snowball come through? Yes, it can. Dodging out the boat. And this fight just feels like it's broken. I mean, Zor's TPing in, but what more can they really find here? Maybe Zebra? He's a little bit far forward, but they don't have the X into the boat combo anymore, so there's really nothing more to be done.
yeah, it's not the prettiest, and okay, you didn't really lose all too much on the Felt side, but it's a lot of time wasted, a lot of time not really doing all too much. But bottom lane, Soldier's trying to kind of pester DNM, and that level 1 ult's very expensive, but they're not able to keep it up. There's the power shot. Okay.
That was just as the armlet was being toggled too, so if it had been on target... Of course, yeah, if it had been on target is something I think every Wind Ranger player has said a couple thousand times, but did not hit the mark. A-OK in the bottom lane. Meanwhile, up top, Nick and Nico trying to put some pressure onto the tier 1. They forced out the glyph, but this is where that living armor becomes a big issue. It's just slowing this down, but Aframush tried to get in. The avalanche connects, but he's going to get hit by the nightmare, but Nick is still in some trouble. They pull him back with the X into the torrent. And can he get any of these kills with the DOT? No, he can't. So Belt finally sort of striking confidently, I would say there. They save the tower, they find a kill onto a core, and didn't really have to sacrifice anybody to make that happen.
If only it happened a little bit sooner in the laning stage, but yeah, it's the kill, and it is the one downside of this Viper hero. You know, don't think about your positioning for a second. You aren't aware of what's going on, and Nico is a little bit crazy here, and he's got a Fairy Fire, but okay, there we go. He's dead.
Well, here comes Giant looking for some revenge, but
Giant
even
can't
if
do
they can
this.
clean this up...
Oh.
Okay, there we go. They bring the
Friends.
firepower. So Zora and Afromush both dead. Giant, Little Nick splitting the kills, but I don't know. I mean, they could have still made that play without Nico sort of stepping that far forward and getting picked off. So it's nice that they make the trade, but feels like that was one where the DK was just a little overconfident and he is made to pay for it. But if 5RAT can get the trade and the tower, I think they're going to be just fine with how this works out.
Yeah, and I think, yeah, Pingu has to give it up as soon as he sees that the Wraith King has walked all the way over here, but I do hope we see a Blink Dagger queued up, yep, from DNM. Just means he's going to be more aggressive, he's going to be there with his teams, and I think that's where how 5RATFORCESTAFF decide to play for their next objective is going to be very important. We've got a more farm-oriented lineup coming in from Feld, especially with their itemization. Jinro's got his boots of travels already. He's going to be looking to, I think, try and play on the fringes of the map. He's going to get very farmed in doing so, but it just means you have to be very careful in the in-between. But Pingu, I think he might be going down here. They would love the return onto Zor. AB1, a lot of damage.
Oh, hold on a second. Yeah, they sort of mishandled that. Giant, he goes in for the Walrus Punch when the Nightmare was still there, so he ended up putting himself to sleep, and Feld have an opportunity. Lil Nick has to TP himself away. He is going to get out, but Giant will be simply left behind. Solji finds the kill. DNM has to retreat, and 5RAT sort of managed to kind of bungle that one a little bit. The timing's off, and it cost them their shot.
Yeah, they overextend. They think they're safe playing on a ward. I think their sentry got killed, which was also kind of a bummer for them. So Zora gets to sneak up and give vision of everyone with the bugs. And it's those overextensions that, you know, it's not the worst thing in the world, but it's XP and it's gold. And it's also a Kunkka who is finally deciding to build up some more of these real items. And once he gets items like the BKB, like the AC, the fight is going to get very difficult. It's where the question with Kunkka and the question especially with Wraith King always becomes, do you have the armor to tank this hero? Do you go for the Deso? Do you look for these items to help even out these matchups? Or do you need to go for a big item like the BKB? But Afromush, oh, he wants this toss so bad. He has vision of Nick, but it's going to fade away if he doesn't go for it.
It just started off with the Avalanche to really, if he really does want it. Oh, he goes for the Tumbler's Toy, and he tosses the creep. That's a bit of an issue. Now his TP gets canceled, and, well, that sucks. That's just so painful. He was so patient there in the tree line, but eventually felt like he has to go or he's going to miss the opportunity, and unfortunately, he ends up missing it no matter what. That time it cost him his life, and now what's going on up here? TP in from Pingu. Albino Zebra is going to spot him out. DNM, though, sees some of the other heroes coming. This is going to get very dicey. They need more reinforcements, and as of right now, they just don't have it. Zebra's going to have to be sacrificed.
Yeah.
DNM, hold up.
Oh, nice
Did he?
blink.
Wow, okay. That is some sort of timing to get out of that one. So, sacrifice your support, get your carry out of there. Pretty much free and clear, and at least Nico is sort of split pushing in the middle lane, so overall, 5RAT still looking pretty good.
Yeah, and I think that's where 5RAT, they're trying to play very similar kind of ideas as game one. They're syncing up their timings a lot here. Lil Nick just finished off his BKB. Of course, they have the blink on DNM. They're going to have BKB pretty soon on Nico. They'd love to get a fight going, get some free damage onto these tier 2 towers, but I think more importantly, they can very easily take Roche. If they get a kill on their side of the map, if they get a kill near the pit, it's going to be very simple for them to go for that, and it's not the fastest play in the world, but they should be able to make something happen here. Afromush is going to finish his blink dagger in the mid lane, but they would love to find another early kill onto the wind. And Solji, he's going for the Lincolns. He knows that the easiest way he dies in this game is if he just simply gets blink dragon-tailed, and, well,
Kind of like that.
that's
Blink.
why he's getting the Lincolns. You know, that's...
Oh, okay, hold on. Never mind. Thought for a moment there he survives the initial hit, stuns up Giant, thought maybe he would try to run away, but yeah, Solji figures I wasn't going to make it out if I tried to run, so as you said, that's why he's building that Lincolns, to try and prevent that exact scenario and, well, the consequences of getting picked off there, because now the Roche pit's open and 5RATFORCESTAFF just sort of mosey their way on over. The scan reveals them, but, well, they're too spread out. They can't really do this.
Yeah. I'm just sitting here wondering why Lil Nick's not putting down another Toxin. As a Viper player, I'm extremely mad.
Well, I mean, they get it done either way, but it could have been Oh,
Oh,
God!
no, no, no.
He got in! Afromoosh, what oh my God. What a hero. Just gets in there, takes it away. Who cares if they kill him afterwards? His job has been done. I
They're gonna get it either way, huh?
yeah, well, shut up. Yeah, there you go. Boom. I immediately eat my own words, and yeah, you know, Nether Toxin would have sped that up. Turns out the Viper player knows how to play Viper. I concede, but ugh, that's
That's crazy.
it's
That was blind.
it's
That
great.
was a
Yeah,
guess. That was a guess off of the scan. He knew he was. He just. I don't know. That's some third eye. That's some sixth sense. That's good. That's great to see.
it's funny as all hell. But if you're 5RATFORCESTAFF, that's kind of inexcusable, guys. I mean, someone has to be there instantly because there was what 1 or 2 seconds even before the tiny blinked in and threw out the avalanche where no one picked up the Aegis sort of instantly. So that little mistake really does end up costing them. They're still in the lead. That's not exactly a game-changing play, but if you're Felt, it stalls the momentum, and that's got to count for something.
Yeah, and I'm looking. It was a snatch, so they still got the gold. You know, it's in really the Aegis matters a whole lot less. I think it's the type of game, honestly, where you probably want to give the Viper the Aegis of all people, and they are just immediately on the aggressive. And unfortunately, Afromoosh, he's got his Blink Dagger. He's gonna be able to get some spells off, but this Orchid from Zor, hey, they got a kill.
Able to turn that into a trade, but now they need to clear out. Zor is just going to try to walk away. And, oh, doesn't get far enough. Nico blinks, stuns there. DNM comes in with his own Blink Dagger, and now it's going to hurt a little bit more. 1-for-1 trade on supports, that's fine, but losing the Weaver, and was that the reveal of his Orchid? I don't know if they had seen the Weaver since he had purchased it, but they certainly know he has it now, and wasn't really enough to get them anything further.
It's a little bit unfortunate, but also unfortunate that Zora gets caught by a sentry on the hill that he probably just assumed was not even there because they have so much vision kind of placed around that he really wouldn't even think that would still be there. But at the same time, hey, Soldier's got his Lincolns. A lot harder to kill. They're going to need to itemize to actually break that Lincolns cleanly. Otherwise, it could be a little bit rough, but
Ooh.
AB1, uh-oh.
I'm not really sure what his plan was there. His teammates were pretty far away. Even if Afromoosh isn't there to sort of cancel that out, then I don't know. He still needed to buy quite a bit of time, but well.
Oh.
Okay, Tiny not down just yet. There's going to be the ghost ship coming through, but the snowball, yeah, kind of breaks that one up, and now they're in onto the Kunkka himself. Living Armor is doing a little bit to try and keep him alive, but will it be enough? No, it will not. Pingu, though, did throw the Overgrowth out, and with Solji's damage, they just clear out. Well, they try to clear out would be the sort of better way to say that, as Lil Nick's the only one who actually completes his TP. Everyone else either dies or gets it canceled. And that fight looked pretty terrible at the very start, but they salvaged a straight win. 4 kills for just the 2 heroes they lose.
Yeah, and I'm looking over at the inventory. I saw the Soul Ring was on cooldown, but I think just maybe barely missed time. It's not a perfect number. It's, 180 for the Reincarnation, 150 from Soul Ring, but it's unfortunate if the DNM goes down in a situation where I can assure you he was planning on getting his ulti off, but just the burn coming in from the Diffusal Blade, and as well as the Kunkka just doing an absurd amount of damage. He only got 2 Tidebringers off in that fight, but that's what caused the immediate retreat, and I think getting that kill on Nico really at the end is kind of just the cherry on top. It's an unfortunate circumstance because now we're getting to the realm of luxury. We're getting to where this Wind, who hasn't really been farming the fastest, well, she'll farm pretty fast if you start winning team fights with her, and that's where we see items like the BKB, like the crit, like the Blink Dagger, and then suddenly, well, she can just play for picks. She doesn't need to be that tower push. You just let the creeps do it, and Kunkka's certainly filling that role of the ancient hitter.
Nico, no tower to protect him, no tower for teammates to TP to, so he just has to try and run. He does have a BKB, though, so
does not want to use it, but
wasn't getting out unless he used it at that point, I think. So Nico falls back. Teammates have sort of rallied around him, but not much of a fight to be had here, especially if DNM is just going to stay up top, because he really did not budge.
Oh, pretty simple, pretty easy. And you look over at Zor, he's getting a Lincoln's for himself as well. And then the initiations are getting very difficult. This game's getting a little bit hairy for 5RATFORCESTAFF. They haven't really been able to get those clean jumps. And I think most importantly, Pingu has just made himself hidden. He has not died very early at all. And Nick, a lot of damage.
Well, they're able to turn on to Zor. Can they lock him down before he gets the ult? Yes, they can. So, no time lapse coming out, and DNM's kind of in no man's land right now. He does have the
Shard,
ult.
though.
Yeah. Shard's going to allow him to get that off no matter what. Meanwhile, the Kunkka throws out the boat. DNM may get hit by it, so they're trying to turn this around, but Nico got onto the backline. Stun up onto the Kunkka. They're going to push in with the Walrus Punch as well. Lil Nick, though, has fallen, so outside of DNM, they're a little bit lacking in damage. They need to be able to get the Wraith King in there. He's going to blink his way forward, getting onto that Kunkka a second time. Stun connects, and Nico finishes the job with the Breathe Fire. Now they want even more. Popping the Lincolns on Solji. They need to be able to close the gap. Giant, okay. Blinks in, Walrus Punch into that Wraithfire Blast. Albino, excuse me, I'm not British, comes in with that Nightmare, and they're actually looking to turn this one around with Pingu TPing back in, but I just don't know if they have the damage for this. Nico, with the BKB active, should just walk away, but they really are chasing. They're going to just stop and go for the Bane. Much easier kill to track down, and yeah. Albino Zebra taken down. Giant didn't clear out. He had a TP. Did not go for it. Now just to try and get out on foot. Not sure he's doing anything with this. The snowball comes in and he doesn't have enough time. The ice shards aren't going to be back up, so I think Giant's just going to eventually be taken down there, and felt, well, some support kills on the back end to sort of salvage it, but that still wasn't a clean fight for them.
No, it was not a clean fight, and it's just this Lincoln Sphere. It's the Lincoln Sphere and the wind run in the in-between that's just making this hero so obnoxious to actually pin down, and that's where, unfortunately, for really the entire 5RATFORCESTAFF lineup, you only have one hero really building up an MKB, that, of course, being DNM, and if he gets that MKB, sure, he can finally put his finger on the wind, but then you're not tankier at all. You're still very vulnerable to this overgrowth. And again, Pingu is playing out of his mind. He's continuously finding those 3, 4, 5-man overgrowths after the fact, usually stalling up the DK and the Viper post BKB. There's just not that forced play where Pingu's forced into using that overgrowth very early on in a fight, and they chase after, then he doesn't have anything to give for his teammates. It just feels like they're kind of missing their opportunities on all of these heroes. Not to mention, this problem's only going to compound because Zor has a Lincoln's queued up as well, and he's only about 1,000 gold away from his, and the space is just kind of there without 5RATFORCESTAFF making their way onto any of these buildings, and of course, not having an Aegis or a Roshan to play for either. We're not really seeing that fast game plan. We're not seeing them really ball out on these towers. I feel like it's been 10 minutes since we've seen Nico Dragonform hit a tier 2.
Just have sort of dropped the ball a little bit in terms of those objectives, and I say drop the ball, a lot of it is that Felt have not given them those opportunities, but we're going to try it now. Tier 2 top is the target. TP's coming in though. Felt, they might want to do this, but they've already lost the tower, so there's really nothing for them to fight around at this stage, and their lineup was a little bit split as well, but now Zor, got to be so careful here. There's some TPs mid, but your Weaver's going to just jump away, not getting caught. And it was only the Bane who actually TP'd down there. So there's still the majority of 5RATFORCESTAFF hanging out in this northside jungle. The question is, can they actually find a target? They are going to try and jump in onto Pingu right away. If they could just take him out of the fight without the overgrowth, they've got it. Now they might be able to do something. Solji, though, trying to push in, looking for as much damage as possible, but that's just not going to work. Shinra can't really be the only frontline hero there. He doesn't have that durability, so they'll have to fall back, and, well, we were talking up Pingu, right? Just how well he had been playing, and 5RATFORCESTAFF recognizing that he's kind of the linchpin. They take him out early, and the team fight sort of just falls apart at that stage.
Yeah, and again, it's something that 5RATFORCESTAFF does so well. It's something that we have seen really in all 3 games. They will run at this hill with 5 heroes. They will force everybody through these gates, and they will make sure they get that control because they know how important it is, almost suicidally so, but in doing so, they see the tree. He can't be hiding. He gets that easy way onto, again, the back line. And then that's where, unfortunately, you look over at the Kunkka, seeing his itemization. He's going to, yeah, switch up his build from a Satanic into the BKB. But that lack of BKB is pretty much the entire reason why they can't take that fight. As elusive as the Weaver and the Windrunner are, the Kunkka is anything but. And that's why it felt so good when they were getting that overgrowth, when they were able to stall out these fights. But when you're unable to, it just feels that much worse. But, oh, mid. Nick, well,
That's a very late BKB. Doesn't really do him any good, but now they get in with the Fiend's Grip. Nico jumps forward as well. They're going to take Zor down first. Now they're on to Pingu. God, and as you were saying, they're just so damn good at identifying the progression. We go for Zor. We take his Lincoln Sphere and his ult out of the equation. Then you can really just focus down Pingu, and at that point, if Solji runs away, fine, because the fight's pretty much over. So they take the trade in their favor. They're back into the Roche pit. DNM does still have to be careful HP-wise because he is a little bit low, but they push the Wind Ranger far enough away where there's not any threat of a power shot into the pit.
no, and again, can't hesitate. Nico's so good when he wants to be. Getting the intercept on Pingu, that's the only way they get punished for that play. But at the very least, for Felt, Solji does continue to build up. It's really funny seeing Solji and the Shinra play because they don't really queue up a lot of items. Like right now, Solji's just sitting on 4.4k gold. He has 0 components. He's got nothing queued up. He could be buying a Revenant brooch as far as I'm concerned, but it probably won't do that. But you never know. At the same
Uh-oh.
time, though, yeah, split push getting caught. Oh, Nick.
It gets the vision. There's the Walrus Punch, and Afro, well, gonna get himself taken down there. Not sure if it was Lil Nick himself or the courier flyover that got him the vision, but either way, they find the pickoff. They're gonna send DNM to just sort of get this creep wave back under control for them, and I don't know. Does DNM really want to go far enough along to try and push the tier 2? That would put him a little bit further forward than maybe he's comfortable with, but they've got Aegis. They could bring heroes over to help him out, so it wouldn't be that risky of a play if they want to go for it.
I can see as well with the MKB, feeling very confident to actually, get that pesky wind kill. All it takes is a Wraithfire Blast into a DK stun. It's probably the order they'd want to do it as well, but at the same time, doing a really good job hiding. Soldier did just buy out a full BKB as well, so unless he's really just caught dead to rights, he is able to kite pretty well still. I kind of wish that we would see somebody on 5RATFORCESTAFF really just mess up their build and get a Hex, because that's what they're missing. They need an instant disable. They need something to just really dislocate and get that Linken's from a safe distance, or just even a chain off that Linken's to break it up, but it still feels pretty rough. He even buys a Javelin just kind of in the intermediary here, see if he builds into a Maelstrom or if he wants an MKB for himself, but don't think we're going to see them poke this high ground. It seems a little bit too crazy, but...
Oh.
Ooh.
Well, and that's why it was a little crazy. Nico is going to get punished for it, but DNM pushes in. They're going to try and take the Tiny out of the fight as quickly as they possibly can, but now the Overgrowth coming in from Pingu, they might try to actually turn this around. Nico doesn't have a whole lot of HP, and now they've got the Shackle between the Wraith King and that DK. They're able to take the Dragon Knight down, and this is not looking good. DNM's going to lose his first life. Another Shackle now pins the Tusk. This is getting just way too expensive. They're just going to back off while they can. DNM blinks himself away, and did they catch? Yes, they did. Lil Nick doesn't get himself out. He's going to try for as much damage onto the Kunkka as he can, but that shouldn't be enough to kill. Shinra... okay. He will survive, holds the armlet as long as he can, and... well, you said they weren't going to poke the high ground. They probably shouldn't have. All things considered. 3 heroes dead. And, well, DNM loses his ult, but that's going to be back up. But that's still a terrible overextension.
I'm really surprised that they even tested the waters there, because and of course Nick is just it's just an unfortunate circumstance. He gets axed, didn't think he'd need to BKB TP. Would have been fine if he BKB TP, but gets kind of picked off as the cherry on top. But they go so far in, they use their BKB to kind of dodge out the first barrage of shackles and avalanches, and in doing so, again, they set up for the overgrowth. And without items like Lotus Orbs, like Force Staffs, they don't really have an easy get out of jail free card. It's why the only Force Staff in the game, I think, is built up on the Viper, and in the meantime, it just means that they can't really afford to make those crazy dives like that. And sure, Wraith King is able to walk away, DNM's able to be fine, but I don't think 5RATFORCESTAFF can really be okay with just DNM being fine. They need to be more, I think, of a team. They need to give everybody a decent game, at least at this stage. Is double BKB is just not really doing a whole lot for them. At the same time, felt they're just kind of very gingerly able to get, again, live in this luxury where they just have so many items being built up. They're getting, I think, the right items as well. The team fight is just getting more and more difficult. Not to mention, Shinra, he's got the AC pretty soon here. And then, again, that's where the problem arises for your Wraith King, where this Deso is pretty much counteracted, and then suddenly you're not blink bursting, one-shotting heroes. You're getting kited, you're not killing supports. I just feel like maybe this timing is getting moved past what 5RATFORCESTAFF want to play in.
Need to be careful here. You can't necessarily overreact to some of these setbacks, but at the same time, well, you can't just sit back and do nothing and assume things are going to work out for them either. They need some sort of proactive play here. You see them trying to make their way into the east side jungle, but there's really no one here for them to hit up, so I don't know, just so much had been going their way. All it takes is that little misstep in the middle lane. You go to the high ground when you didn't really have much business doing so, but maybe they can find some sort of play on the Shinra there, but he's just got the BKB TP, so Kunkka will be just fine. Forced out the Dragon form from Nico, although, in fairness, that's not really the longest of cooldowns anymore, but just trying to split push this one out. His top lane, Solji actually just TP'd in. They're going to try and take out Little Nick as quickly as possible, and they've got this kill. They've got the one kill. They should find the second, and this is not what you need if you're 5RATFORCESTAFF. You can't get split up like this, because the Wind Ranger is at that point. MKB nearly done. The damage is there, so really can't just write Solji off the way that they had been earlier on in this game.
It's kind of sad to see. They spread themselves out so thin. I mean, it's a super easy play from Solji. I mean, you saw 3 heroes TP bottom as Kunkka calms to him that's exactly what's going on. The Kunkka gets to farm their entire jungle, walk back very, again, gingerly back to the team, and, well, now, what do? You're kind of stuck in your high ground. You're dead 2 heroes. What an Orchid.
Wow.
Okay.
Well, maybe they can do this. Zora's dropping low. Oh, he gets it off. Yeah, time-lapse saves the day. DNM now got to be a little bit careful on the front line, but I don't think they really want this fight. They just wanted to make sure that the Weaver survives and then back off. But now those items are starting to come into play. Solji just finished off his MKB. Shinra got the AC, so... well, 5RAT may have missed that sort of window of opportunity where they were definitively ahead of their opponents build-wise. Now these fights are going to be very, very complicated, and well, they shouldn't just rush into the first fight that they can find here, but they don't need to be as hesitant anymore, pushing their way in. As Nico, okay, they're going to get a jump onto Tiny, but this is a tanky Tiny, even as a position 4 hero. He's not easy to bring down, and in fact, they actually haven't killed him off yet. Giant, though, will finally get that with the shards, but while that was happening, Albino Zebra got picked off in the bottom lane.
It's unfortunate. It's just 5RATFORCESTAFF no longer have that easy victory. You don't have that free win that you just get to plan for momentum continuously, and I feel like Felt are honestly right at home. They're right where they need to be. Pingy's playing a little bit more careful now. Of course, after picking up this gem, he's been using it to just kind of foster this home in the bottom lane where they just have a little bit of vision, but it's enough to find picks, to find kills on heroes running through the tree lines, trying to get even more picks. But at the same time, I think we need to see a little bit more. And I think really the problem is right now, 5RATFORCESTAFF, they need to itemize for some lockdown. They need to itemize to get Blake stun. They need to find just a little bit more disabled. DNM was able to right-click the wind in that last fight near the top racks for maybe a second, and he did half of the wind's HP, and that is the detriment to Felt's lineup. If Solji is ever getting right-clicked by that Wraith King, Solji will die. He is still killable. He is always killable. That is the silver lining here. But if he's never caught, he's not dying. And he's certainly been elusive the entire game. I think that's where an early Roche could spark a fight that maybe Felt just aren't ready for yet, but give another 10 minutes. Felt are just getting so many items so quickly, and I'm not seeing that same level of progression from 5RAT.
Well, we'll find out in about a minute who sort of takes the plunge into that Roche pit. So, gives Felt a little bit more time maybe to get themselves prepared. Meanwhile, Nico got himself an AC, so that's going to sort of even up the armor front between himself and Shinra, but this feels like 5RATFORCESTAFF now just sort of walking on eggshells. They realize, as you said, they sort of lost their edge. They lost their easy win. Now a mistake could just straight up cost them this game, so are a little bit more hesitant to try and take any sort of decisive action. On the Felt side, well, you spent this long getting yourself to this point. They aren't really in a hurry to just throw it all away either, so both sides willing to take a step back here, as that was an E-Blade purchased up by Afro, so okay. I mean, first potential coming into play for him.
Yeah, not just that, just really good save, honestly, versus the Wraith King.
Mhm.
And that's another problem, is no nullifier queued up, no real way to, I think, progress your items very much further for a lot of these heroes,
Oh no.
especially for DNM, who's very slotted, but okay.
First life down. Here comes the reinforcements, though, but I don't know if it'll get here in time. DNM, okay. Pops the BKB. Pingu, meanwhile, throws out the ult, just trying to keep 5RAT back as long as possible, but there's going to be that defensive snowball. DNM trying to get away. He's not dead yet. He'll blink to the high ground, but that means he's not in this fight. They're not going to be able to rely on him until he heals himself up, but Shinra is now going to get stunned, dropping low. Can they finish him off? It's down to just Nico, really, to take this fight, because he's lost all of his backup. And, well, they can't fight the Dragonite under the tower, but they got pretty much everyone else. Little Nick dead. They force out a buyback from the Tusk. Albino Zebra had to buy back as well, so they get sort of kills around the edges, but if they'd have taken DNM there, that could have just gotten them onto the high ground.
Yeah, and it's a sacrificial play, again, from the 5RATFORCESTAFF supports to really get him out there. And again, it's another brutal overgrowth from Pingu. It's the reason why that all looks so close. But, hey, you killed the Kunkka. You were actually able to take it away. And this is a very smart smoke. Unfortunately, you don't actually want to be in the DK form for this stun. They need to get it on the Lincolns. They need to chain it together. And once they go up this high ground, Afromush is just going to blink. They're going to escape.
Ooh.
And, well, Soldier just gets another kill.
Just waited for that opportunity when the first hero gets a little bit too far away. Jumps in for the kill, and now they have to take this fight without two of their heroes, and DNM going to get hit up by that Ethereal Blade. They're going to get the toss back now as well. DNM needs backup. His ult has come back up at least, but who's going to be here on the other side of it? DNM trying to get away. Giant jumps in, gets a Walrus Punch down onto Shinra, but excuse me, not Shinra, Solji, but there's no one here to actually hit the Wind Ranger, and without the damage, they really just can't take this fight. They're trying to fall back as best as they can, but they're not going to be able to get away with everyone. Giant will fall. Nico, though, blinking his way forward, but the Tiny is not the hero you want to be hitting right now. Afromush is just going to stand his ground. They turn around. Zor gets in on the backline. The overgrowth from Pingu out again. Look at them. Their BKBs are useless. They're just standing there because they literally can't move, and they just have to fall back. There's nothing left for them to do. DNM is just going to get taken down. His ult did not come back up in time. And now Nico might just fall as well, and at this point, I said, you know, if they get DNM, they could have taken the high ground. They get it the second time around, and here they are. Tier 2 tower gone, Tier 3 in the crosshairs.
I honestly think they're going to definitely poke the waters here on the Tier 4s to try and get that Wraith King's spy back, but there's no bad option. They can just go to Roche. If anything gets too hot here, they're going to look for, I feel like, the game if they really want to. They're being very patient here by getting a lane, but, I mean, if they know what they need to do to get buyback. However, this is timed out really nicely. If they want to, they could just simply Megas them. It's going to be 20-30 seconds on the buyback for 5RATFORCESTAFF. They could rob everything from them. I don't know if they can actually do anything here. And look at buybacks. Of course, the Wraith King has it. He doesn't want to use it. The Viper has it as well, but okay, there's your double buyback. And now they're gone. Oh my goodness.
It's too easy a play. We're going to threaten it. You have to buy back. We know you have to buy back, so once you do, buy. They just back off. Now they could even take Roche as well, as you were sort of mentioning earlier on, and this becomes pretty much the perfect play. I mean, the series of events that just unfolded for Felt could not have gone any better.
Watch it.
Desperation time for 5RAT, though. Here they come. Nico blinking in. They're going to look to force the fight. BKB out from Shinra, though. He's going to just continue to hack away at Roshan here. Who gets it? Nico gets it. He's got the Aegis in hand, but do they have the damage to actually take any of these kills? They're not really getting through anyone. DNM dropping low. Little Nick outside of the pit is going to be finished off, and they can't do this, ET. They just don't have the strength. DNM finally gets a crit that'll take Shinra down, but Solji is now into the fight as well, and They just can't do it. DNM's gonna get hit up, silenced, stunned, eventually killed. The man who took the Aegis away does manage to TP home, but yeah, there's nothing left to fight with. They used all their BKBs, GG called, and Felt, after dropping the opening match, fight their way back-to-back wins. They take the series 2-1.
Yeah, I mean, taking away game two just being kind of a bizarre showing. Game three, I mean, they made the win look great. They made the Weaver look great. They really, I think, buffed up their heroes, but I think MVP for me is 100% got to be Pingu. How many overgrowths on BKB targets did we get? How many snowballs were forced to save those BKB targets? How many times did we just see them really not in a position to continue their damage? And I think both Pingu and Solji especially just played so annoyingly. So many shackles thrown, so many focus fires really sent out there, so many spells blocked by Lincoln spheres. We just didn't have enough lockdown from 5RATFORCESTAFF. And again, we talk about it a lot. 5RATFORCESTAFF had an easy win in this game. They had momentum that they could have just kept on rolling and rolling and rolling, and we saw how successful their lanes were, and then it stops. And then they don't get a kill, and then they aren't able to do much with their first Roche, and then their second Roche, sure, it's free, but they aren't able to get onto another building. We never saw that inevitable push come from 5RATFORCESTAFF, barreling down buildings, taking objectives, pushing your tier 3 at 20 minutes into the game. That was never the story. It was Felt successfully getting their lanes out, playing around their own item timings, and I feel like for a lot of this game, ignoring the majority of 5RATFORCESTAFF's plays. There just wasn't a big enough threat for really them to consider what was happening in the game. And honestly, just kind of a bizarre game all in all for 5RATFORCESTAFF. Just not the same team we saw in game one, to be honest.
Yeah, it just feels like they come out strong in game one. Game two, okay, your opponents made some adjustments and they ran a kind of similar lineup on the 5RATFORCESTAFF side that didn't really work out. That's fine. That's okay. But then in game three, as you said, they just kind of they lose their edge. I don't really know any other way to say it. They looked good for so long and then just kind of got thrown off of their game and not really the opportunity to get it back, which is kind of strange. We did not see anything like that from 5RATFORCESTAFF in their pro circuit run. They were always sort of cool, calm, and collected, always the team in control as they won every single one of their series. But Felt finally sort of able to expose some cracks in that armor, perhaps, and they're the team moving on to the upper bracket final.
Yeah, and we'll have to see. I'll eat my words. I thought 5RATFORCESTAFF versus Dogchamp would have been a fun matchup to see, but Felt, they're right there. They're also going to be an upper division team this season for a very good reason, and we'll see if Soldier gets to play his win a little bit more because that was kind of fun. That was kind of a show.
And I believe we are getting set up for an interview here as well. So we are going to get a member of Felt in here in just a minute or two to come talk to us. So give us just a second. We'll get this set up. We'll get our interviewee in here as well. And we'll be back for that winner's interview in just a bit. So stick around.